What could make a prince who had every luxury imaginable leave it all behind? The answer is a truth that has transformed over 500 million lives and holds the power to change yours. Subscribe and click the notification bell to begin this profound journey. Improve your English and unlock the secrets to lasting inner peace. You are about to listen to one of the most incredible stories in our world. It is the story of the Buddha, a man whose ideas and teachings have touched the lives of more than 500 million people all across the globe. From countries like China and Japan to India and Nepal and all the way to Thailand and beyond, the story of the Buddha continues to inspire so many hearts and minds even today. But here is something that I find even more amazing. This story is not just about a person from history. In many ways, this story is about you. Yes, you. Because the lessons that the Buddha taught are not only for monks or for people who lived a long, long time ago. They are lessons that can help you change your life right now today. It doesn't matter where you are, from what challenges you are facing, or what language you speak. In this story today, we will go deep into his journey. We will start from the very beginning, from his birth. We will learn about his struggles, his long search for the truth, and everything that happened in between. The birth of a prince. Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom called Lumbini, which is now a part of the country we call Nepal, a baby boy was born. This baby boy would one day grow up to change the world forever. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, but later, much later, he would be known to the world as the Buddha, which means the enlightened one, or the awakened one. Siddhartha was born to a king and a queen. His father was King Suddhodana, and his mother was Queen Maya. They were the rulers of a proud and noble people called the Shakya clan. The moment that Siddhartha was born, something quite extraordinary happened. People say that when his mother, Queen Maya, gave birth, she was standing in a lovely, peaceful garden. As she held her new baby in her arms, the trees in the garden gently bowed down their branches, and all around her, beautiful flowers bloomed with vibrant colors. This wonderful event was seen as a sign. It was a sign that this child was truly special. The baby Siddhartha was beautiful. He had a glowing face that seemed to shine with a soft light, like the full moon on a clear night. Soon after he was born, a wise prophet came to the palace. The prophet looked at the baby and made a prediction. He said that this child would grow up to be one of two things. He would either become a great and powerful king ruling over many lands, or he would become a great spiritual teacher, a holy man who would bring peace to the entire world. Now the king. His father heard this prediction, but he did not want his son Siddhartha to become a spiritual teacher. No, he wanted Siddhartha to be a powerful king just like him. To make sure this happened, King Suddhodana decided to surround his son with only luxury and pleasure. He kept Siddhartha protected inside the palace walls. He gave him the very best education, the finest clothes made of silk, and anything his heart could ever desire. The palace was a world of its own. It was filled with beautiful, lush gardens, hundreds of servants ready to help at any moment, and talented entertainers who played music and danced. Siddhartha grew up enjoying all of this. In his world, there was no pain. There was no suffering. There were no hardships. His father believed that if Siddhartha never saw the world outside the palace, he would never know about the difficult and harsh parts of life. He hoped that if his son only knew comfort, he would naturally choose to become a king. As Siddhartha grew into a young man, his beauty and his kind charm became well known. Many people in the kingdom admired him. From the outside, it seemed he had everything a person could ever want. He had wealth, he had comfort, he had good friends, and he had a loving family. And yet, even with all of this, there was a feeling deep inside him. It was a quiet feeling, a small question in his heart that told him something was missing. One day, this feeling of curiosity grew too strong. Siddhartha went to his father the king and asked if he could please go outside the palace walls. He wanted to see the city and the world where his people lived. His father was worried. He was reluctant. But finally, he agreed. The king thought that maybe, just maybe, if Siddhartha saw the outside world, he would understand how lucky he was to live inside the beautiful palace. And so Siddhartha set out on his journey. He was excited, eager to finally see what was beyond the palace gates. But what he saw on that day would change his life and the course of history forever. As he rode in his chariot through the streets of the city, he saw things that he had never, ever seen before. The first thing that caught his eye was an old man. The man was walking very slowly, leaning on a stick. His face was tired, and his skin was covered in deep wrinkles. Siddhartha was shocked. He had never seen someone so old before. Inside the palace, everyone was young and healthy. He turned to his charioteer, the man driving the chariot, and asked, "What is this? What has happened to this man?" The charioteer looked at the old man with kind eyes and replied, "This is old age, my prince. This is what happens to all of us. We all grow old, and our bodies become weak." Siddhartha was confused. This was a new and difficult idea for him. He had never really thought about growing old. In his perfect world, he had always thought that life was happy and beautiful forever. He believed that everyone lived happily for all time. As they continued their journey through the city, they saw something else that troubled Siddhartha deeply. He saw a sick man lying by the side of the road. The man was suffering, moaning quietly in pain. His body was weak, and he could not stand up. Siddhartha had never seen sickness before. He asked his charioteer, "What is wrong with him? Why is he in such pain?" The charioteer explained, "My prince, this is disease. This is sickness, and it can affect anyone. It does not matter if you are rich or if you are poor." Siddhartha's heart felt heavy in his chest. He was beginning to realize that the world was not as perfect as he had always believed. People grow old. People get sick. His perfect, beautiful life inside the palace now seemed like a fantasy, like a dream, when compared to this harsh reality outside. But there was still more to see. As they continued on their way, Siddhartha saw a group of people carrying a body. The body was still and lifeless, lying on a simple wooden frame. Other people were following behind, and they were crying. Their faces were full of sadness and grief. Siddhartha asked his charioteer, his voice now quiet, "What is this? What are they doing?" "This is death," the charioteer replied softly. "That person is no longer alive, and all living beings one day will experience this. It is a truth for everyone." Siddhartha felt a deep, profound pain in his heart. It was a sadness he had never known. He realized a fundamental truth: everyone, absolutely everyone, must face old age, sickness, and finally death. It did not matter how rich you were or how powerful you were. You could not escape these truths of life. Finally, as their journey was ending, they came across one last person. It was a monk sitting peacefully under a large tree. The monk had no money. He had no family with him, no palace, no fine clothes. He was dressed in simple orange robes and was completely calm. He had a peaceful smile on his face. Siddhartha was very curious. He asked the charioteer, "Who is this man? Why does he look so peaceful when there is so much suffering around us?" The charioteer replied, "This is a holy man, a seeker of truth. He is at peace because he has let go of his desires. He has accepted the reality of life with all its joys and sorrows." This moment changed Siddhartha forever. He looked at the peaceful monk and understood something very important. He realized that wealth and luxury could not bring true, lasting happiness. Real peace, real freedom could only be found by understanding the truth of life. And that was when Siddhartha made a decision that would change his life completely. He decided he would leave the palace. He would leave his family, his wealth, and his title. He would set out on a journey to find the truth of life. He needed to understand why people suffer, and he needed to find out how they could find real, lasting peace. Part 2. Siddhartha's Search for Truth. After Siddhartha's eye-opening experiences in the city, he could not go back to his old life. He could not just return to his life of comfort and luxury. The palace, his father's kingdom, the soft clothes, the delicious food, everything he had ever known now seemed empty and pointless. He now understood that life was so much more than just seeking pleasure. He felt a deep, urgent need to find the truth, a truth that could help him and everyone else overcome suffering. The pain he felt from seeing old age, sickness, and death in the world had awakened something deep inside of him. It was a fire, a need to know. Siddhartha felt that he had to discover the answers to the big questions about life. He had everything a person could want: wealth, a loving family, respect. But it was not enough. True happiness, he now believed, was hidden somewhere far beyond the walls of his beautiful palace. But there was another thing that weighed heavily on his heart. Siddhartha was married. His wife was a beautiful and kind woman named Yasodhara, and they had a young son together, a baby named Rahula. Siddhartha loved his family very, very deeply. Yasodhara was not only his wife, she was also his best friend. They had shared many special moments and happy times together. But as much as Siddhartha loved them, he could not ignore the truth he had seen in the outside world. He could not forget the faces of the old man, the sick man, and the dead body. He could not ignore the fact that all people suffered. He could not ignore the truth of old age and death. He needed to find peace, a real and lasting peace, and he believed the only way to do that was to leave everything behind and go search for the answers. One night, while his wife Yasodhara and his little son Rahula were sleeping peacefully, Siddhartha made his difficult decision. His mind was already made up, but it was still incredibly hard. Leaving his family was the greatest sacrifice he could make. It felt like a piece of his heart was being torn away, but he believed it was the only way to find the answers he was looking for. Siddhartha quietly walked to their room and looked at them one last time. He did not want to wake them. He did not want them to stop him, to hold him back with their love and their tears. He knew that they loved him, but he also knew with all his being that he had to follow his own path to find the truth for all people. As he walked silently out of the palace gates, a deep sadness filled his heart. He looked back one last time at the life he was leaving behind, the only life he had ever known. But there was no turning back now. The moment his feet stepped outside the palace gates, he became a renunciant. This is a word for someone who has given up everything: their home, their family, their possessions, in search of a higher spiritual truth. Siddhartha left his palace at the age of 29. He traveled for many days and many nights with nothing but the simple clothes he was wearing. He eventually found himself in a large forest. There, he met many other holy men. They were known as ascetics. These men had also left the material world behind to search for enlightenment. These ascetics believed that the only way to find truth was through self-denial and extreme suffering. They believed that by punishing the body, they could free the mind. They would fast for very long periods, sometimes eating almost nothing at all. they lived in great discomfort, sleeping on the hard ground. They would meditate for hours and hours without moving a muscle. They truly believed that by making their bodies suffer, they would purify themselves and come closer to spiritual enlightenment. Siddhartha joined them. He wanted to try their path. For years, he lived in the harshest conditions imaginable. He meditated for hours on end, not eating enough food to stay healthy and pushing his body to its absolute limit. He believed, as they did, that by denying his body's needs, he could find the ultimate truth. But after a long time of struggling and suffering, he realized something very important. This was not the answer. Extreme self-denial was not the path to enlightenment. He was becoming weaker and weaker every day. His body became so thin that he could barely stand up. Yet his mind was still not at peace. He had learned a valuable lesson. Extreme suffering did not lead to wisdom. It only led to more pain and complete exhaustion. One day, Siddhartha was so weak from hunger that he collapsed near a river. A kind village woman named Sujata found him lying there. She saw how weak he was and felt compassion for him. She gave him a bowl of milk rice. Siddhartha accepted it with gratitude and slowly ate it. The food nourished him. It gave him strength. And in that moment of returning strength, he realized that balance was the key to finding peace. Extreme fasting and self-denial were not the answer. But living a life of pure luxury was not the answer either. Instead, he needed to find a middle path. This was a way of living that was balanced. It was a life where you could take care of your body and your mind in a healthy way without being attached to extreme pleasures or extreme pains. So Siddhartha decided to take a new approach to his search. He now understood that peace and enlightenment did not come from making the body suffer, and it did not come from living a life of luxury. It came from finding that middle way. Now, with this new understanding, Siddhartha set out for a place called Bodh Gaya. It was here that he would sit under a very famous tree, which today we know as the Bodhi tree. He decided he would meditate there until he found the answers he was looking for, no matter how long it took. This was the most important moment of his life. He found a comfortable, quiet place under the big Bodhi tree, sat down, and made a vow. He made a promise to himself. He promised that he would not get up from that spot until he had found the truth. He was completely determined. This was his final decision. He would sit there and meditate until the answers came to him. For many days and nights, Siddhartha sat under the Bodhi tree. He focused his mind, looking deeply into his own heart and his own thoughts. But this journey was not an easy one. During his deep meditation, he was challenged by a being named Mara. Mara is sometimes called the demon of temptation, and he wanted to distract Siddhartha from his important mission. Mara sent powerful forces to try and disturb Siddhartha's peace. He sent powerful storms with wind and rain. He even sent visions of beautiful women to try and tempt him and distract him. But Siddhartha remained calm. He was focused and unshaken. He did not allow Mara's tricks to disturb his mind. He continued to meditate, going deeper and deeper. And gradually, as he sat in stillness, he began to feel the presence of something greater, a profound wisdom. On the 7th night of his meditation, Siddhartha finally experienced a deep, powerful sense of awakening. He finally understood the truth of life. After sitting under that Bodhi tree for all that time, his mind was finally free. He had achieved the state of perfect enlightenment. This is a state of complete inner peace, a state where he understood the true nature of life and the real causes of suffering. He had become the Buddha, the awakened one. The path he had been searching for all those years, the middle way, was now completely clear to him. Siddhartha had spent so much time looking for answers outside of himself, but he now realized that the answers had always been within him. Through his deep meditation and quiet reflection, he understood what would become known as the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These powerful teachings would now become the foundation of his life's mission. The Buddha's first goal was to share these Four Noble Truths with other people. He wanted to help all living beings understand what causes suffering, and more importantly, how to end it. Here is a simple breakdown of these four powerful truths. 1. Suffering exists. In Pali, the ancient language, this is called dukkha. Life is full of challenges and suffering. This can be physical pain, like being sick. It can be emotional struggles, like feeling sad or worried. And it includes the inevitable facts of getting older and one day dying. We all face these challenges. No one can escape them, no matter how much we try. So, suffering has a cause. The main cause of our suffering is desire and attachment. We suffer because we are always wanting things, craving things. We might crave wealth or fame or love or material possessions. We become attached to our ideas, to our relationships, and to how we want things to be. And when these things change, or when they disappear, we feel pain, and we suffer. 3. Suffering can end. This is the good news. The Buddha taught that suffering can be ended. We can end it by learning to let go of our constant craving and our strong attachments. When we do this, we can find true inner peace. This is not about escaping from the world. It is about changing how we react to the world. 4. The path to the end of suffering. The way to end suffering is by following something called the Eightfold Path. This path is like a guide. It shows us how to live a life of balance, wisdom, and compassion. The Eightfold Path includes right view, which means understanding the true nature of life and suffering. Right intention, which means making decisions based on kindness and compassion. Right speech, which means speaking truthfully and kindly and avoiding lies or hurtful words. Right action, which means acting in a way that is ethical and does not harm others. Right livelihood, which means choosing a job or a way of life that does not cause harm. Right effort, which is about working to develop good qualities in yourself and let go of bad ones. Right mindfulness, which means being fully aware and present in this moment, mindful of your thoughts and feelings. And finally, right concentration, which is about developing a focused mind through deep meditation. These teachings became the foundation of what we now call Buddhism. The Buddha believed that anyone, absolutely anyone, could practice the Eightfold Path and find peace and freedom from suffering. It did not matter where they came from or what their background was. It was about personal transformation, and it was available to all. After his enlightenment, the Buddha realized he could not keep this newfound wisdom to himself. The world needed to hear it. He traveled to the city of Varanasi. There he met the first 5 disciples who would follow him. They were the same group of ascetics who had once practiced the harsh ways of self-denial with him. They had seen him suffer so much, and when he left them, they thought he had given up on his search for truth. But now, when they saw him, the Buddha was radiating with a quiet wisdom and a powerful peace. At first, they were skeptical. They were doubtful. How could this man, who had once practiced such extreme suffering with them, now teach a new way? But as the Buddha began to speak to them, they started to listen. His words were powerful, yet gentle. They were calming, and they were filled with a deep and profound insight. The Buddha shared the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path with them. He explained that they did not need to punish their bodies to find peace. Instead, he said they needed to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom in their hearts and minds. Balance was the key, not extremes. One by one, his first 5 disciples began to understand. They realized that the Buddha had truly found the way to end suffering, and they wanted to follow him on this path. These 5 men became the first members of his community of monks, which is known as the Sangha. Together, they would help to spread his teachings to the world. What made the Buddha's teachings so special was not just the wisdom in his words, but his incredibly compassionate heart. The Buddha was not just interested in sharing knowledge, he was deeply interested in helping people truly change their lives. He did not just preach his teachings from a high place, he lived them every single day. The Buddha showed people that by practicing the 4 Noble Truths and following the Eightfold Path, they could transform their own suffering into peace. He helped countless people, from rich kings to poor beggars, from young children to old men, to understand the path to true happiness and inner peace. One of the most beautiful things about the Buddha's teachings is his non-judgmental nature. He welcomed everyone into his community. It did not matter what their social status was, what their background was, or what they believed. In his eyes, every single person had the potential to find enlightenment, and he treated everyone with the same love-kindness and respect. Despite his long journey to seek enlightenment, the Buddha did not forget about his family. His wife Yasodhara and his son Rahula were still living in the palace. When they heard the news that Siddhartha had become the Buddha, the enlightened one, they were deeply moved. Yasodhara had once shared Siddhartha's dreams and desires for a life in the palace, but now she understood the great wisdom in his journey. She was deeply touched by the fact that Siddhartha had sacrificed everything he had for a greater good to bring peace and freedom from suffering to the world. Yasodhara herself became a very important figure in the early community of Buddhists. She understood that true happiness did not come from wealth or from being attached to material things, but from developing inner peace and compassion. Rahula, Siddhartha's son, also later chose to become a monk following his father's path of enlightenment. As the Buddha continued his journey, the years passed and his teachings began to spread far and wide. His influence grew stronger, not just in the land of his birth, but across many different kingdoms and regions. He did not just teach people through his words, he taught them through the way he lived his life. Humble, peaceful, and filled with compassion. He did not want people to simply listen to him and believe him. He wanted them to understand, to practice, and to experience the teachings for themselves. His followers were a diverse group of people. There were rich and poor kings and beggars, men and women. The Buddha accepted them all. His message was universal. It went beyond the boundaries of social class, wealth, or even nationality. What made the Buddha's teaching so powerful was his amazing ability to connect with people from every walk of life. His words were simple, but they were also profound. And his life was the greatest example of his message. One of the most important parts of the Buddha's teachings was meditation. He showed the world that the mind, even though it is often filled with distractions and worries, could be tamed and calmed through consistent practice. Meditation was not just a practice, it was the key to achieving true and lasting inner peace. The Buddha himself meditated under the Bodhi tree for many, many days in the stillness of the night, refusing to leave until he had achieved enlightenment. During this time, he faced many challenges and temptations, including the demon Mara, who tried to shake his determination. But the Buddha remained firm, his heart and mind undisturbed. He often taught his disciples that meditation was not just about sitting in silence. It was about learning to be fully present, to understand how your own mind works, and to realize that everything in life is impermanent. This idea of impermanence became a cornerstone of his teachings. The Buddha explained that everything in life is temporary. Our emotions, our relationships, and even our own bodies are always changing. This realization helped to free people from a lot of unnecessary suffering because they learned to let go of their attachment to things being a certain way. The Buddha's teachings provided a roadmap for anyone who wanted to live a life of peace, love, and wisdom. His approach was realistic and very practical. He did not promise that life would always be easy, but he showed people how to handle the inevitable suffering that comes with being human. By now, the Buddha's teachings were becoming famous even beyond the borders of India. His words resonated with people in Nepal, China, Japan, Thailand, and even far into Southeast Asia. His ideas about compassion, mindfulness, and the nature of our existence spoke to people from all walks of life. From the monks who gave up everything to follow him to the everyday people who came to hear his talks, the Buddha's message went beyond time culture and belief systems. Everywhere the Buddha went, people gathered to hear him speak. His wisdom spread quickly, and his followers began to form communities dedicated to practicing his teachings. As the Buddha continued to teach, he encountered many debates and challenges. Some people questioned his ideas, while others tried to test his wisdom. But the Buddha always remained calm. He always answered with patience and with clarity. He never raised his voice, and he never allowed anger or frustration to cloud his judgment. His final teachings, given before his death, are some of the most powerful in all of Buddhist literature. The Buddha spoke about the great importance of impermanence, teaching that nothing in this world is permanent, including life itself. He encouraged his followers to live with awareness and to find the truth within their own hearts. The Buddha's message was clear. Do not rely on anyone or anything outside of yourself. Seek the truth within. Part 3. The Final Journey and the Death of the Buddha. As the Buddha's long life drew to its natural end, he knew that his time on earth was approaching. His body had grown old, and the physical pain that often comes with old age had begun to settle in. Yet despite all of this, he remained as calm and as serene as ever. He was a true testament to the very teachings he had shared for so long. He had already reached the highest point of human wisdom and compassion, and his death, just like his life, was filled with deep and profound lessons for his followers. In the last year of his life, the Buddha set out on a final journey to a place called Kushinagar, a quiet and peaceful town in what is now modern-day India. It was here, surrounded by the beautiful countryside, that he would breathe his last breath. He had been traveling for a long time, visiting different places, and spreading his teachings wherever he went. People would line the roads, eager to see and hear the man who had inspired millions. And those who were already his followers gathered around him with love and deep respect. As the Buddha walked, he knew that his death was coming soon, but he was not afraid. He had already conquered the greatest fear of all, the fear of death itself. For the Buddha, death was not something to be feared or mourned. It was simply a natural part of the cycle of life, just as birth and growth were. His calmness in the face of his own death was a perfect reflection of everything he had taught, to accept that life is always changing, to accept its impermanence, and to live fully without being attached to anything, not even to life itself. Before he reached Kushinagar, the Buddha stopped in a small village. Here, he was offered food by a blacksmith named Kunda. The meal that he was given, some ancient texts say, may have been either accidentally poisoned or had simply gone bad. The Buddha, ever the calm and peaceful figure, ate the food without any complaint. He accepted it with gratitude, just as he accepted all things. This meal caused the Buddha to have severe stomach pain. But instead of reacting with anger or frustration, he used this moment to teach his disciples one final powerful lesson. He reminded them that nothing in life is permanent, not even pain or sickness. He told them that physical suffering was a part of life, but the mind could remain peaceful and unaffected if one practiced mindfulness and detachment. The poison from the meal eventually took its toll, and the Buddha's physical condition grew much worse. His body began to show signs of severe distress, but his spirit and his mind remained steadfast and completely undisturbed. This moment was a final demonstration of the power of the teachings the Buddha had shared with the world. No matter what our external circumstances are, we always have the ability to remain peaceful within. As the Buddha lay in his final moments, he was surrounded by his loyal and loving disciples. His mind was clear, and his heart was at peace. The final words that the Buddha spoke were among the most profound teachings he had ever shared. He turned to his followers, and in his calm, serene voice he said, "Be a light unto yourselves. Strive on with diligence. You must work out your own salvation with diligence. Nothing in the world is permanent. All things arise and pass away. Your life is but a fleeting moment. Seek your own liberation. The truth is already within you." These words were a final call to action for his disciples and for all of those who would follow his path in the future. The Buddha was not telling them to rely on external things or on any other person or being. Instead, he was urging them, encouraging them to look within themselves for the answers. He wanted them to find their own truth and to strive for their own liberation from suffering. It was a beautiful invitation to live life with wisdom and with compassion, to be the master of one's own mind and one's own actions. The Buddha died peacefully, entering what is called parinirvana. This is the final deathless state, completely free from the cycle of birth and rebirth. His death was a moment of profound calmness and quiet acceptance, a perfect reflection of everything he had lived for. Even in his passing, the Buddha remained an embodiment of his own teachings, impermanence, acceptance, and mindfulness. His followers, who were deeply moved by his death, were at first unsure of what to do next. The Buddha had shown them the path, but now he was no longer physically with them. They soon realized that the most important lesson the Buddha had taught them was not through his words alone, but through the incredible way he had lived his life. The Buddha had lived his life as a great teacher, but more importantly, he had lived his life as a perfect example, an example of how to face suffering, how to seek enlightenment, and how to live a life full of peace, love, and compassion. The Buddha's life and teachings became a beacon of light for millions of people, guiding them on their own personal journeys toward peace and enlightenment. His message of compassion, mindfulness, and impermanence continues to resonate deeply with people today. The teachings of the Dharma, the Noble Eightfold Path, and the Four Noble Truths became the foundation of one of the world's largest and most influential spiritual traditions, Buddhism. The Buddha's story is not just the story of one man. It is the story of humanity itself. It is a story of struggle, of transformation, and of the ultimate triumph over suffering. It is a story that will continue to inspire generations to come, reminding all of us of the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity and find peace. As we come to the end of the Buddha's incredible journey, we are left with the most important lessons that he shared with us. These are lessons that continue to guide millions of people all around the world. The Buddha's life was not just a story of one person. It is a story for all of us. It reminds us that peace, wisdom, and compassion are within reach for every single one of us, no matter what struggles we may face. The Buddha taught us that life is filled with challenges, but it is how we respond to those challenges that truly defines us. His message was simple, yet so powerful. Suffering is a part of life, but it does not have to define us. We have the power to overcome suffering, to find peace, and to live a life of wisdom and love. He showed us that through developing inner peace, we can rise above our difficulties and help to create a world of greater understanding and compassion. Let us reflect on 3 of the Buddha's most important life lessons that can truly change our lives for the better. First, be present. The Buddha taught us that the present moment is where true peace is found. Try not to dwell on the past because it is gone. Try not to worry too much about the future because it has not yet arrived. Instead, focus on today. Live with awareness and try to embrace each moment as it comes. Second, let go of attachments. Letting go of our strong attachments to things, people, and outcomes is key to finding freedom. The Buddha showed us that nothing in life is permanent, so holding on too tightly can only bring us pain. Learn to live with an open heart, free from the chains of attachment. And third, live with compassion and love. The Buddha's teachings always remind us to show love and kindness to all living beings, including ourselves. By practicing compassion, we create a ripple effect of goodness that can help to heal the world. So what can we take away from the Buddha's incredible journey? We learned that just like the Buddha, we too can face our challenges with wisdom, with calmness, and with a peaceful heart. We have the power to transform our own lives no matter what obstacles may stand in our way. The Buddha's story is not just his story. It's a story that shows every human being that we can rise above suffering and find true inner peace. So as you go about your day today, remember the Buddha's teachings. Try to live in the moment. Let go of your attachments. Practice love and compassion. And know that you are the master of your own peace and your own happiness. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the Buddha's life and his teachings. I truly hope you found inspiration in his story. Remember, no matter where you are in your life, you have the power to change your story. We will continue this journey of learning and growth together. I will see you tomorrow, where we will explore more life-changing lessons and motivational stories that will help you grow and improve your life. Until then, stay peaceful, stay wise, and most importantly, stay compassionate. You have the power to create the life you dream of.